Hello folks. Well, I would hope that you've watched the video in relation to my arrest on the 31st of December. If you've watched that, then this is going to make a little bit more sense. So in that video, just to be short, I ensured I remained within the law, the 9 principles of law enforcement. I gave instruction and presented the facts that there was no surname on the title of the man these officers were addressing. I told each and every one of them individually. That continued into Greenbank. Suffice to say, they criminally converted, or a Sergeant Plumber criminally converted my name and added that which creepeth from below, a surname. So they presume I'm on birth certificate. They asked me that, I told them no. I don't think they understood at that level. However, it did keep going into the duty inspector. They do know. So this was a set play by these people, okay? I left that place with a bit of paperwork addressed to some whatever, not a man, but some very strange hieroglyph. And then my little old name. And a court date of the 21st of January that I had been bailed to, he said. So, they've bailed some strange critter and assigned it to my flesh and blood, and indeed my original trust, okay, without surname. So of course I am the grantor and principal of that trust. As such, I can decide who is trustee, who isn't trustee. Okay, so straight away there then I've presented my standing, not taken on by all 7 officers involved in my kidnap. Monday gone, I sent a letter to the courts. Now, interestingly, when I tried to present the email to the Blackburn Courts email, they came back mailer demon. Now, that's not just, oh, it's full, it's chocker. That's saying it was rejected. That's what it says, that my email was rejected. So, to see if I had a problem with my email, I had a colleague send it from his email. Same came back, mailer demon. That means that Blackburn Magistrates Court is rejecting communications from those it is being claimed are being dragged into the courts. So right away there you've got shenanigans everywhere, okay? Bearing in mind, I remained in law, in the service of, that's English realm, okay, while they were enforcing policy, while claiming to be constables. That's an admission of impersonating a police constable, okay? An officer and a constable are not the same thing at all. Officers work for the stakeholder committee. Stakeholder committee is made up of the biggest employers in each town and city. So let's take Accrington, for instance. You've got McDonald's, you've got the police themselves, you've got the council. Yeah, all these corporations that are employing, the Asda, the Tesco, all these big employers are on the stakeholder committee. And because you, the public, only pays it 12 or 15% in council tax for the police, then the stakeholders are by far the biggest funders of their agenda, which is why they're servicing government policy and not servicing law. Okay, the stakeholder committees are the bank's committees in all your towns, in all your villages and cities, and they are there for one thing, and that's to establish and enforce government policy. Government policy is an HM corporation. They've tried to get themselves off Companies House to remove all our assets that come in under the United Kingdom Limited would go and pass to the Crown. That's been thwarted temporarily till June this year. But I'm still not so sure I'm comfortable with that scenario in relation to it not being a play, which is very possible. But that's for another time. So I sent in a letter, basically, an email, requesting what is... Basically, when you have been called to court, your solicitor, once you've got one, will then get all these documents from the court. Okay, because that is the case against you. So it'll have everybody involved, times everything that's involved in this charge or complaint will be in this body of data. So your solicitor will grab that. He knows all what's going on. Okay, but usually then he's operating it for you on his own program, not yours. Naturally, I'm not having any such nonsense in between me and the Crown. I will stand and I'll do the deed myself. I won't be a defendant, of course. I am a man and I have suffered a trespass. Okay, that's where I'm coming from. So, I sent in an email requesting this information, specific information, which I'm not going to divulge at this stage for the simple reason this is an ongoing thing and we need to know how it's going to conclude. The first part's done. The second part now is to visit this court. So I sent them that. They sent me back a ridiculous response, and within the hour. And as I said, I couldn't send it to Blackburn Direct. I had to send it to Lancashire courts. So that was the only operational email. So that, in and of itself, by Blackburn magistrates, is an obstruction of justice. Okay, an obstruction to justice, which is a right under English constitutional law. Okay, so that's another breach. That's the courts themselves in breach of. So you can see there's laws being broken everywhere. According to their policy, they're not breaking any laws because they're operating contrary to laws. It's its own entity. They're claiming to be enforcing contract law. Contract law because of your birth certificate, which has been secured with a surname. That gives them the surety then to lay siege against your flesh and blood via your straw man or person, also known as a dead trust, because in 1666 all were declared lost at sea. So unless you produce life, you are assumed dead. You are a debt account then to the Roman system, as opposed to the original document and title or trust that's created, from which at 21 you become principal. Become grantor and then principal. Okay, that's the game. That's the key to the door at 21, not the key to the front door. You should have been gone by at time of 21, I'm sure. Anyway, back to the thing. So they sent this nonsense plethora of absolute garbage. Blah blah blah. We're not with this, with that, with that, with that. We're not with this, with that. Right? Most people go that and go, oh my god. Like I'm telling you now, it was absolute piff. This is primary school stuff, garbage pish. So being able to see this thing puts you on you're on the position of a man. You're seeing through this. So they can't get away with this unless you're ignorant of all these facts. So most people will be straight away, solicitor. So straight away, solicitor's getting all this stuff, or playing along and not getting it, but pretending he has got it. Now, this is what I've learned so far in this little shindig, and that is this. The police working for the stakeholders are operating government policy through the stakeholders. On that video, it's very clear the first officer round the back wasn't prepared to keep speaking. He wanted to know if the boss was coming. Now, I'd called for the duty inspector because that's the boss of officers, but he was speaking of the council. Okay, so there you can see the proof that the police are working for the corporate. They required somebody from the council to come down and determine command. Okay, that's what happened there. His colleague came round, a female, and also presented the fact that there were two environmental officers coming. So again, you could see they were waiting for command. Command Not on the radios like they used to be. No, waiting for 2 council women. Now, why are they using women everywhere? Well, quite simply, women are crazy, psychotic. You know, once they get a bit of power in their head, as that female officer showed us, sniggering, laughing. You know, what is going on there? Are they just so ignorant they don't know? Or are they looking down on you and thinking, we're secure, pal. We don't have to listen to you. We're in the Gestapo. We're under the SS and we're proud of it. And notice a lot of these people are of an age where they know what happened in Germany and know what their grandparents and great-grandparents fought against twice. They've no excuse. Okay, because not only are they ignorant, they've actually happily joined what they were briefed with growing up. So there you can see, it's a particular age group I'm finding, especially when you're looking out into the open and they've got these little civilian officers. They're all baby boomers. They're all of the generation that were born to the parents who got their generation annihilated in the Second World War. What does that tell you about the mentality of that generation? Because they don't have any excuse. They can't claim ignorance either. You know, we all got dragged up on war films. We were brought up with World War II. There is no excuse at all for this generation. So there you go on that. Now, they sent a load of shit, basically expecting me to buckle. So I thought, yeah, we were expecting that. Thank you for that. That's evidence. Okay. So then I sent in a second letter pointing out court procedure and the rules of the game. Not my rules, the rules of the court system itself. The rules of policing, law enforcement. So I present, that shut them up. There was no more flippancy, nonsense, crap. I've heard zero. That's good news, okay? So that's put them on notice. They know now they're not dealing with a retard that they can pish and bully around. Now, what I came to see there, as again with this stakeholder committee, the police are working for these stakeholders. All right. Now, what I'm seeing here is the police are operating on their own in our buildings, arresting people. Another branch of this police system are hiring our courts with their own people in these. They're not courts. If they were courts, the sergeant at the station would have sent off a file and fee to the courts. The courts would then send me a letter with an invite to court with a date. I specifically asked the sergeant, so I'll get court papers. No, he said, no, you just go. So what that's telling me is this. The police are arresting people and making money, sending them into their own network, fining you and making money. Okay, so this is what I'm facing on the 21st of January. But I can see it, and I'm explaining this to you so that you can see it, because this is the game. So this is live, as it's going on, I'm now telling you exactly what's going on, okay? But I can see it, okay? I'm seeing this game. Now, on top of that, ACRO are issuing all these nonsensical fines, up to the tune of £10,000. So ACRO are issuing these fines through the police. Okay, so you're dealing entirely with a private company that is completely run by police constables and the chief constable or deputy chief constable. So it's the police picking you up off the street, sending you to themselves to be fined, or they're issuing fines organised by another company that's part of the police. So the police are benefiting. Now, let's get into Lancashire County Council. We know that it's the Blues and Twos Credit Union, now controlled by IBM. But all the council tax goes to that society. It's a society on Companies House, okay? All your council tax goes to that. That is the police in its entirety. The police are taking the entire amount of council tax and then telling you they're taking X amount. Are they? Who knows? Is there a paper trail? If so, you try getting it. That's when freedom of information comes out to block. Okay? Before freedom of information request, you sent a letter into the council or government, you got an answer. There's no space for redaction of the facts. FOI is there to redact the facts. Okay? And that's exactly what they used on that first response. Just nonsense. Garbage. Absolute pish. So we now know the police are arresting people, making money, sending you to another branch of their organisation, either in the courts, fining you, or issuing you on the streets with fines direct from ACRO, which is another police operation. The police are getting a lot of money. The police get free brews at McDonald's. That tells you everything you need to know about the position on the stakeholder committee. If McDonald's rings up because somebody sneezes outside, 25,000 police are there with guns, dogs, kittens and ferrets. Okay, that's what's happening, people. All right, you ring them up, you could have 25 rapists, child paedophiles outside. They wouldn't dare come because they'd be the chief constables, you know, and the super detectives or whatever the fuck these silly names are that they keep giving to themselves. Okay, this is what we're saying here. This is what's happening, and it's getting worse. And as you can see, other, especially in London, where they're just willy-nilly singling people out, bullying, offering them an ACRO fine, so an ACRO waiting to pay, or they're arresting you, and then they're going to send you off to their own court. You see, this is why Blackburn Magistrates' email addresses are shut. You're not dealing with the magistrates as you would expect him to be. These courts are being hired by the Johnny-come-latelys at Greenbank. Police intelligence, okay? Police commissioners, stakeholder committees. All right? Now, we, over Christmas, just had a little bit of a look at what has possibly gone wrong and why is this going on in relation to this great nation. Why is this corporate monster gaining more and more authority over everything that's supposed to be working for our benefit? Okay, so that's what we need to explore next. Okay, now the English realm is made up of great offices of state. Okay, so they're the highest offices, and the ascending order is Lord High Steward, Lord High Chancellor of Great Britain, which is a bit of a misnomer. It's actually of England, it should be. And the Lord High Treasurer and the Lord Privy Seal. So those are the great offices of state. Now, the great offices of the Crown are a different set. Okay, so the great offices of state stand above the offices of Crown. Now, what they've done is moved the Lord President of the Council, which is a Crown office of the great office of the Crown, above the Lord Privy Seal. Okay, so they're sort of removing the seal and putting their own crap in. Now, people are saying, oh, it's government doing it themselves. No, these are HM corporations, right? So the Temple Crown has usurped the Crown through Parliament and through the manipulation of the great offices of state. So this is what they're doing. So it is the Temple Crown operating HM agencies because the flesh and blood wasn't oathed. The correct oath wasn't taken. And as a member of the Inner Temple, the incumbent monarch has ensured this this treason, this high treason. This is what this is. And all those operating for this system are in high treason. And if we put that back to Second World War, they are the collaborators. You know, these are serious indictments, but they are the facts of the matter that we are dealing with today, right now. And so we can see it's a corporate takeover. Well, Mussolini was very frank when he was asked to define fascism, and he said, and I'll paraphrase, of course, that it should be more correctly called corporatism, because when the corporations merge with the domestic civil system, fascism is in place. Now, Jacob Rothschild was heard declaring that the New World Order system would be in place 2018. All right, so we're entering our third year of this move to install the anti-life system. Okay, because it's anti-life because the entire bureaucracy is dealing with dead trusts, the dead, crypts, cryptocurrency, currencies for the dead. But they're not currencies, it's a form of exchange that they're implementing. The Bitcoin as a currency, forget it, it's the carrot to bedazzle. But they're ending currencies. There's only going to be a form of exchange that you can all use. They'll control it. It's worthless, but they're going to issue you it as credits because you're shifting from a bond slave to a leased slave. All heading to having you in so much debt that they're going to offer the jubilee of total debt relief, but you have to hand over your estates. What is your estate? Like, you know, so many people out there are seeking their estate and thinking it's a big pot of gold, big pot of money. No, your estate is everything that was built on the land you were born to. Because your initial trust is recognising your claim to that land. That is your estate. So it's not payable in pounds and pennies. It's the land that you live on, the buildings, the architecture, the farmland, everything. It belongs to us all. Not some hoity-toits who are upset now because they're not going to get shed loads of money off Europe to not farm. They're probably not going to farm because they've got supermarkets importing everything today. They're just sitting on their land and making sure you can't go on it and grow on it. I mean, Heimburn, for instance, where I live, interesting conversation recently and touched on quite a few points, but Heimburn is a very wealthy borough because of the land in its enclosure. And that the council, which we know, has been selling this off willy-nilly all over the show because they have a trust claim on it. It's not ownership because a corporation can't own the land because a bank can't own the land. And the corporations are the representations of the banks on the street. So all this is just trust law. It's garbage. It's filth and nonsense. But because we don't understand what's going on, we don't know how to combat it and put it right. So it's important that you don't get yourself in too much debt because you're going to feel obliged to take up the opportunity of full and utter debt forgiveness, rather, is what it is. Not debt relief, but debt forgiveness. But you have to hand over your estates by consent. You're going to hand over your entire nation, everything that your ancestry has built, slaved, bloodied for. And that's not just this, that's every nation. You know, you have a tie to that land because that's your ancestry, your family was born there. You know, that's how it works. So I just thought we'd give this little update because you need to understand that the police now, supported by the stakeholders now with the might of everything body corporate, so that's all your big companies now that are the operational in this so-called lockdown, laying it out, you know, enforcing the rules that they've got in last year. And they've took all the money. They've not lost a penny, but they've changed everybody's employment contracts to the point you don't really have a contract, or certainly nothing that gives you any claim for dismissal or unfair dismissal down the line. And of course, you're going to dance to all this stuff, or you're not going to get in. You can see them installing marshals now all over. So, baby boomers, people working for the council. Well, Heimburn is pretty much under the control of Capita. Capita is intelligence. It's like a branch of Serco, a crown corporation. a massive operation, and peopled with selected personnel, not personnel on merit like it used to be. These are just programmed from college days, right from, well, actually from school, post Tony Blair years, 97 onwards. These are not valued personnel to society. These are slaves, mentored and programmed to the agenda. And Capita's full of them. That's what it is. That's all it is. Full of collaborators operating for this corporate system. And they are creeping into Heimben. Interesting, today went to the Lidl. There were two people stood in the foyer, not taking much notice as I wasn't, because I was going shopping, but asked me if they could give me a mask. I declined, continued. But as I was at the cash out, they came behind with big charade, excuse me, and waltzed past. Now, it's always a male and a female. They have females there because they're the ones that start to take it a bit aggressive. They're stupid. So you're the ones that you're getting cross at. Please come. And oh, there you go. So they're using the women purposefully to heighten any idea that there's nonsense going, oh, you're doing it to a woman. These are not women. These are absolute freaks, you know, the women that never got married. You know, their husband's been banging everything forever and ever. Oh, man, the kids hate them. And they're stupid. And there's nothing in their lives apart from let's go and pick on everybody else because we've been told we can. So I asked the young lad at the checkout, I said, who are them two people at the foyer? And he said, Blackburn Council. Blackburn Council in Heimben. Now, yeah, odd it could be, that is, but not when you consider what I've just explained in relation to Capita. So we need to get off our asses, people, you know. This is not on. It's not, and it's getting worse. You can see that they're starting to shove the jackboot in now, you know. When I first used that term jackboot, 20 odd years ago, it looked at me like I was a complete lunatic. Well, here it is, all over the shop. So, and they've got all the new rules to hit you with the jackboot for it, called the bug. Yeah. So there we are. I will probably update if there's any more nonsense in between now and the 21st. I'm not thinking there will be. We're going to have to deal with this on the day. But that is what we're going to see, pretty much is what's being exposed right now as we move forward in this little charade. That the fact that this is the police network, stakeholders, hiring our courts, not involving any courts. There's no paperwork going to a court for them to present you with paperwork to be a summons. There's none of that going on because they're not courts. They are not courts. They are idiots. They are a foreign creature bumming the shit out of Englishmen and Englishwomen and Welshmen and Welshwomen and Scottish men and Scottish women and Northern Ireland people and Southern Irish people. That's what's going on. With that, I will say, till the next time.